What is up, everybody? All right. Let's get this out of here. We got a great guest today. Like, dude, I always talk about this, having smart people on the show. But before I get to my guest, before I get to you, I gotta say, this show, with all my shows, are presented by Quick Trip. Big shout out to Quick Trip, sponsoring the show, because this is not a show that deserves sponsoring. All right, but I got Dusty in the house. A lot of people from Twitter already know who you are. Everyone from Twitter, anybody who follows me knows who you are. But people, a lot of my following comes from Facebook, and a lot of people from Facebook don't know. Even Cheesehead TV has a lot of followers on Facebook. But I'm just saying, like, a lot of people I get to talk to, like really smart people in the Packer world, a lot of the Facebook followers that I have, they don't know who you are. So I want to introduce you, everyone, to one of the smartest people on Packers Twitter, Dusty. So what do you do? Let me introduce you to the people who might not know. I think most people should, but the people who don't know, what do you do? Like, you're like a smart. I don't know.
I've been writing about Packers, writing, podcasting, whatever, 7 or 8 years now, and I've kind of settled into the niche. I've settled into during the season has been passing concepts. Just looking at what did the Packers do this past week, looking at the recurring passing concepts, and under the floor, it's been a whole lot of what are the variations to those passing concepts. It sounds really, really boring to talk about, but that's basically what I do. I look at the film. I originally started as like, I'm going to take like all of the plays. I'm going to look at everything, and it's too much. And then everything got flooded. So I look at passing concepts. And then this offseason, I've been looking at kind of historical Packers plays and trying to break them down a little. But yeah, it's basically, I don't know, film study, little stats, and I don't know, passing concepts. That's my main thing at this point.
So like, you're like a film guy. So like you, like, how much film do you watch? Because I was talking to Aaron Nagler, and he was talking about like how much film he watches. Like, I watch no film. Like, I was kind of talking to you a little bit before we started this. Like, people prepare for podcasts and they like get like stats and do this. Like, I just drink beer. Like,
honestly, the best way to prep, Matt. I mean, that's
I drink beer, and sometimes I'll watch someone else's podcast because like I just get, not for like ideas, but just like kind of getting. I don't know. I don't proclaim myself to be like a great podcaster. But
I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, like I just have a good time. But that's why it's good sometimes, like, to have smart people on, because people that follow me, they're like, it can only be so much just a buzzed up guy rambling about hating the Vikings and the Bears so much. At some point, we need to hear some facts. No, but so how much film do you watch? Like during the season, because you do Pack a Day podcast, you do stuff. You're a contributor for Cheesehead TV, I believe, right?
Yeah,
and Packer Report too. Like you just do a bunch of stuff. So how much film do you watch? Like let's say during the season, to like prepare for all the shows that you do.
Well, I mean, honestly, one of the main reasons I started doing passing concepts is because when I started, I didn't have kids, and then I had a kid, and I was like, oh, this is a hobby. I don't have time to like spend all of this time like on a hobby just watching. Because I was rewatching every play of every game, some of them like a dozen times after the game, like within 3 days of the game, trying to do it so I could write stuff up. So I just kind of was like, okay, I'm just going to focus on one thing. So it's the passing concepts, because I look at basically all of the passing attempts, sacks, rushes from Rogers. So, and I start doing defense now too. So basically what I do is I look at all the passing stuff, all the dropbacks, and I watch those a number of times, and you're looking for like different keys. So some plays I'll watch once, because that's not interesting. I don't really care about that. And some plays I'll watch 20 times. And then I'll watch every pass rush from the Packers defense. So like in the grand scheme of things, like not a ton. And then if I have extra time, usually because I'm done writing by like Tuesday at this point. So I'll dig into, okay, what is the next team doing? And I'll look at that. I don't ever write any of that up, but I kind of look. So like a decent amount, but it like among what other people do, I mean, really probably minimal, just because the niche that I'm doing is just passing concepts specifically, so I'm not spending all week locked in my office.
Yeah, because you have like when you have young kids, like it's brutal. Like, I don't know if I would be able to do like what I do now, because like I joke about like not spending time on it, but I spend time. Like I don't watch film and stuff, but I do try to, like, I'm on Twitter a lot. Pretty much people like you to find stuff out. People like you, Andy Herman, and all these guys that know the things. You know, you can't have a podcast and not know anything. Like,
Man, listen, I can try. I can try. Is that you tempting me here? I can do it. I'll give it a shot.
Actually, I did when I first started. I mean, not that I know a lot now, but I mean, I'm knowledgeable. I'm a Packer fan. I grew up a Packer fan. Like, but I'm not like super duper. I'm not Andy Herman. I don't know if anyone is.
Yeah, he watches. I mean, of all the people that watch stuff, I just for the projects he does, he probably watches more than anyone I know. I don't know how he does it. I think he sleeps 3 hours a night, which I would die. So I cannot do that.
I want to ask you. Well, first of all, I got a few questions from people on Twitter. I asked, and I think some of them, like most people on Twitter, that's why I put it on Twitter. Usually I put it on Facebook too, but I know a lot of people on Twitter know you, so I wanted to put it on there. So I was hoping somebody would give me some snarky questions to ask you.
Sure.
I think we got one, but I want to ask you about Amari Rogers. Have you watched film on him?
I have. Yeah.
I assume that you did. So he's one of the guys that I'm most excited about. I mean, obviously the corner Stokes, I'm stoked about. That could be a shirt, by the way.
I'm shocked it's not already, I'm being honest.
You know, Cheesehead TV is going to grab that.
Very quickly. Very quickly.
I want a percentage or even a shout out. I'll no, but Amari Rogers, what are you seeing on him? Because a lot of people are saying like he's a Randall Cobb type guy. Some people saying, well, he's more than that, but like not to say he's better than Randall Cobb, but like he's, you know, he can do
right. Yeah. What he's going to do in the offense is not dissimilar to that. And I mean, you know, every time Randall Cobb was brought up, I graduated from UK. I live in Kentucky. And so Randall Cobb, like legit one of my all-time favorite Packers. So I love that dude. Yeah. No, Amari Rogers, I mean, could see him bringing some of the same stuff. I mean, early on, probably a lot of the stuff Irvin had been doing, you know, a lot of the kind of the jet sweep, get him in space stuff. But man, he can do so much. Like he's, you know, he's short, kind of a compact guy, but he's like, man, really hard to bring down. Really good in space. I think across college football last year, if I remember the statistic correctly, I think second in the country at yards after the catch because he just gets the ball in his hands and just goes, and he's extremely hard to bring down. So, I mean, he'll be doing some of that jet stuff, some of the stuff we saw Irvin doing, but I mean, he's going to be tremendous out of the slot. I could see him, you know, taking a couple snaps out of the running back position a little bit. Like he's tough. I love what he brings to the table, man. Like that's like, granted, I spent a lot of time on the offensive side, but as soon as I saw that pick, that was yes. Okay, that's my guy right there. Yeah, of everyone, I'm a big. I like the draft class as overall is really really good. I think I'm just hyped about Amari Rogers, man.
Yeah, so am I. Because one thing that irritates me, because like anybody who like watches, the people who are watching, probably people who watch, but like it irritates me because last season, everyone's like, why didn't they take they take a wide receiver? Why didn't they take a wide receiver? And I was like kind of at that time saying, well, even if they did take a wide receiver, like wide receivers don't always perform. Like,
yeah, it takes them a year or two generally. Yeah.
So then like people were like, no, this player and the Randy Moss and this player, like, yeah, obviously there's a few that like that bust off and like do their thing. But then now this year they took a wide receiver and I was pumping him up like Amari Rogers. Rogers got a weapon because I assume Rogers coming back. Like we'll talk about that later. But and then they're like, well, wide receivers don't always perform in the first season anyways. I was like, dude, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, you have to use that argument against me when I've been using that against you. That's not you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah, so like that drives me nuts because like I think this draft was spectacular, and I want to jump to one of these questions because I think one of these are I'm missing a click one. Oh yeah, okay, we'll go with this one. But there's one about the roster that I want to bring up, but we'll go with this one. What's your favorite matchup? Like from this schedule release, we're going to go all out of order here today, all right? Because I want to talk
ready,
about the
man.
schedule later. But favorite matchup other than the Chiefs game this season, and why?
You know, they play Seahawks middle of November. Seahawks always play wild games. I mean, that's been a for as far as apart as they are, like a really good rivalry, and the Packers have had their number as of late. So, like, really big fan of. I mean, that I think I don't know, that could be interesting just because it's the Seahawks. You got that history there.
Yeah.
You know, and then outside divisional stuff. I mean, the big one for me, and it's one of those won the offseason, blah blah blah. But they looked really good last year. That Christmas game against the Browns, man. Like that could, and we'll see how the season shakes out because that's late enough. That could be a tremendous game. Just, I mean, because they look stacked by all accounts. The Browns look stacked. And then, the Packers are the Packers. And so I'd love to see if the Browns are this ascending team. That Christmas matchup, I think, is just going to be just a blast between two, hopefully, really, really good teams. I think of all of them, aside from the Chiefs game, that's the one I'm most excited about is that Browns game on Christmas.
All right. Yeah, it's funny. I'm messing with my computer. No, but yeah, I totally agree. I think that Browns game for the for Christmas Day, dude, I'm jacked about that. Like when I saw that, because I love when the Packers play on Christmas Day, but it might be a little problem because I do post game shows and my wife might have a situation with that. Because Christmas is like, we're pretty my wife always feels that day up. She expects me to hang with my family, but
the unmitigated gall, man.
Yeah, but I'm stoked about that game. I think it's good because, like, for me, like, I grew up a Packer fan. Like, I don't know, like, where you're from or like your football history or whatever, but you grew up being a Packer fan, like, as a toddler.
I did, yeah. I mean, I'm actually from the from Detroit area, outside of Detroit originally. So my major sports are all Detroit, but we were Packers fans. Dad was a Packers fan, and so he raised us all. There's pictures of me as a baby in a little Packers onesie. So I easily could have been a Lions fan, man. So thank God for that every single day.
Yeah, you got that bullet.
Got real lucky, real lucky, man. But yeah, my entire life been a Packers fan, even though I never lived in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, so like that's what it is. Like for us, like everything is just Packers. Like, but like with Detroit, like one thing that I'll say, because like we brought like the holiday stuff and being from Detroit. Like I like Detroit having Thanksgiving games because like growing up, like that was like you just watched the Lions lose on Thanksgiving.
Well, and I always loved, even beyond, I love the throwbacks. I love just the plain silver helmets, like a really cool jersey look. Like even if they're getting beat 50-0, and it's kind of a boring game, and then you laugh about it because again, Lions, their uniforms for those games I always just love. So I had that to look forward to. If nothing else, it's going to look pretty,
Yeah, exactly. For people who are just tuning in, I'm joined with Dusty. Is it Evely?
Evely.
Evely, I'm sorry.
You're good.
I've never heard your name out loud. I knew I was going to butcher it. I knew it was that or the other way. All right. But yeah, like, but the Lions actually do like on Thanksgiving that they pull out some tricks every now and again. That like they beat like history wise. I love that though. Like, so what is your opinion on that? Like the Lions and I think the Cowboys are the only two teams. Are those the only two teams that always play?
Yeah, they added one a couple of years ago, and I can't remember exactly who it is now because I believe it is Washington. That sounds right.
It could be, but like, what's your feelings on that? Should they recirculate them, or should they keep them the same two teams?
I go back and forth. Like I kind of like traditions. I like knowing that you're gonna see, the Cowboys and the Lions every Thanksgiving, and then you got a chance of doing the Packers because division rival, and every now and then they'll sneak in. Like I kind of don't mind the tradition. Now, I mean, catch me on a day when it's like, oh, the Lions have lost the past 3 by like 35 each and the games are done. But I mean, really, it's also, I mean, Thanksgiving, we generally do. My family's really close. We do a big Thanksgiving blowout. And so I'm not really focusing on football. It's something to have in the background. So like, unless it's the Packers playing, I don't really care. I just want something to look at while like I'm dying of eating too much pie or whatever. And then like, I'm fine with that. So as sometimes I think they should cycle through, but I'm also like, I don't know. I'm kind of fine with the tradition. It's okay. The Lions don't have much, man. Just give them this. They're allowed to have Thanksgiving.
Lions fans, they deserve something.
Yeah. It's something small for all the years of suffering. Here, you get Thanksgiving. Here you go, buddy. Yeah.
All right. So, what do you think about this schedule? All right. This schedule does not look easy. Like I made a post on Instagram and Facebook, and I just put 17-0. And like people got mad, or like I got people, you're a homer, you think this. I'm like, dude, I don't think they're gonna go 17-0. All right, I would never predict any team, I don't care how good they are, to go 17-0. Like it's a joke. It's optimistic. It's like, hey, the season's here. Let's get excited. People get mad, but that actually drives me nuts because it's like, dude, have fun. Because people who call me a homer, like I made a post about this. People who call me a homer, it's like, dude, I wouldn't want to watch the game with you anyways because you're not fun. Like you're not fun. Like people say, oh, this guy's fun at parties, but like it's true. Like I get it. Like if the Packers are going to play the Bucks this season, and I say, oh, the Packers are going to stomp them, and then people are like, I get that. People are going to say, hey, you're a homer. You know, obviously that's, but it's May. Like, let's have fun. The schedule has got out. It's May. Like, we don't know what's happened. We're not to training camp. We're not at any camp yet. And but what are your thoughts on the schedule? I'm not going to ask you like a record prediction, but like, what are your overall thoughts on the schedule?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's some of the schedule stuff. I mean, you look at, I mean, the biggest one to me is that traveling west on a short week for Thursday night out to San Francisco, like that doesn't look great. That's no fun. And then I guess I don't know they do have the long break between the Chiefs, which is really good. But I mean, honestly, this is one of those things where like I used to get really into the schedule and you're looking at it and well, what about this and this and this? And honestly, it was up until last year because last year was this big thing. Well, they've got the San Francisco on a short week and they've got the Tennessee Titans late in the year. And you're like, where do you know how those are going to go? And then they go into San Francisco with, you know, the very injured team, the Niners were, and like run the door, just beat the ever-loving breaks off them. And then it was, well, the Titans, you know, it's going to be late in the year and they got Derrick Henry. And then they again, beat the brakes off of the Titans. So it's one of those things like I do like looking at it, but at this point it's kind of one of those there's not really much to glean right now. Like there are some tough matchups, but so many weird things shake out, man. Like the Steelers, like that Steelers early in the season could be a tough game because that's a good game. That's a good team. And Ben Roethlisberger's arm is not going to have fallen off yet. But that's if it's week 12, you know, maybe Ben Roethlisberger's arm has fallen off. So like earlier in the season, that's tough. But it's one of those, man, like a week in, this schedule looks way different than it does now in terms of how I feel about it. So I think there's rough spots. Again, the Browns, that's going to be a really, really tough game, man. Like the Browns are going to be fine, are going to be really good. But maybe the Browns are bad this year and the Christmas game is a walkover. Like it does look tough, but it's also, it's one of those things, man. I have no idea. And I know I have no idea. So I could talk about it for a while, but it doesn't affect me too much. Yeah. I'll throw a 17-0 up there. Why not? Piece of cake schedule, Matt. 17-0.
I think like if you just look at it, it's probably like one of the harder schedules that I've seen. Like usually like, oh, they're going to win this game. They're going to win that game. Like I usually don't like to do that because well, first I do because like, what the hell do I know? But but like this schedule, like I'm looking at like not to say I think that they're not going to do well, but there's no like guaranteed like, oh, they're gonna stomp that team. Like the
Bengals. The Bengals are the only team I feel that way about, and they're gonna lose by 2 touchdowns. Like that's the way these things go. I feel so good about that. There's no way they win that one. I think. Yeah,
like, is Burrow gonna be back? Like I know I think he got hurt early on, didn't he?
Yeah, no, I think he would 5 or 6 games in. So I mean, the way that recovery goes these days, I assume he will be back. So I think he's gonna be back for that game.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I don't mean to say it like I think the Packers are not. I think the Packers roster, like I said, I think on Instagram, right? I said the Packers roster. I think this season is better than last season. People got mad because like, oh, we lost to All-Pro center, this and that. Like I get that. But that is when I said, well, we got Rogers, a wide receiver. And they're like, well, he ain't going to do nothing because until the second season. But I was like, we got a corner, a young corner. I'm not saying these guys are going to come in and they're going to be like all pros, but like they're adding to like problems that we had last season, which I don't think wide receiver, because like I get that wide receiver is an issue, but it also, if you're the number one offense, I don't understand like how you could say, we didn't win the Super Bowl because of the wide receivers. I get you could say, hey, I mean, I don't wait to get tires until I'm on the hot side of the highway. So like I get, but I think MVS is gonna be better. I think Lazard is gonna be better. I think Devontae is gonna be Devontae.
Well, and then beyond that too, I mean, the added pieces of DeGuara, who looked real good until he got injured, and I know Sternberger last year was hoping for the breakout, and then he had the concussion, and it sounds like the after effects of that were bad. You have him, maybe he does something. And as much as I love Jamal Williams and all of his mermaid stuff and tough runner and good pass pro, I mean Dylan's better than him, I believe, and now he's going to get more stuff. So it's kind of one of those. I think guys are progressing, and you also have guys from last year. I mean, DeGuara for me is the big one. He seemed like he was as far as what LaFleur wants to do, he's one of the keys to that offense. And really, up until they started bringing in Daphne end of the year, they didn't really have a guy in that role that was doing very well. Kind of that the hybrid tight end halfback role. So I think DeGuara coming in, I think is going to unlock a whole bunch of stuff, man. Like I'm of everyone coming back, DeGuara is the guy I'm most excited about. I think just for what he can do with this offense and the little he showed last year before it went down.
Yeah, when he was like going off last year, like at the beginning of last year, I wouldn't say going off, but he was doing his thing.
He blocked 2 Vikings at the same time. That's good. That's good, man.
Yeah, so we were all jacked about that, and then he got hurt. So yeah, I'm super excited to see. I think the Packers have like so much talent at tight end because Bobby Tunyon is like me. I had Alex Stroff, who you know on this show. Like we did post game shows together last season. And we yelled about Tunyon. And then Tunyon mentioned me in
I saw that. Yeah, Matt Rampage. Yeah.
Oh. He didn't say my name right, but I was saying his name wrong for so long. He got my name close, and then he got Aaron Nagler. So
yeah, he did. He did. And listen, man, Matt Rampage is a pretty cool name. So I'd take that.
Yeah, when I was young, everyone called me Rampage. Like, and my son, like he won an award at school. They called him Rampage. I'm good with it. Like I've been called Rampage my whole life. I'll take it, and it's actually better. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think the tight end group is ridiculous. And then you got Mercedes Lewis, the captain of that ship. I think that they're all learning from I think he's like almost like a coach. It seems like I don't know. Yeah. I just say I'm not in the locker. I don't know, but it seems like everyone just respects the hell out of him. Every tight end that you see in a podcast or anytime an interview, they always mention him. So like I think that he's good for the future of the tight ends. But yeah, I think the Packers could do so many things with tight ends this season. Look at me sounding like I know stuff.
Look at you. So proud of you.
Huh?
So proud of you. Yeah, no, tight ends looking good, man. That was honestly like a positional weakness like 2 years ago. If you ask, it's a positional weakness, and now they're looking good, man. They got some really nice pieces.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, like you mentioned AJ Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love me some AJ Dillon, and I do think he's gonna go off. Like he's gonna get so many more reps than he got last season. Like when he got consistent amount of reps in a game, he went off. I think AJ Dillon could be special. And they got Aaron Jones back. Like, dude, I'm stoked about this running game because Aaron Rodgers, which we're gonna talk about here in a second, is gonna come back. But like let's just like I fully think Aaron Rodgers is gonna come back. But like I think this roster is so good that even if he didn't, I think the Packers wouldn't be like the 0-17 team that people are saying. Like I won't even like hesitate for a second to say like he won't, because I do believe like and I'm not saying this because I know it. I didn't, like I said to people, I didn't read some special article no one read to think he's coming back. I'm just so optimistic, like, and my brain will not let me even have the option that they would trade him. But like, let's go into that for a second. Like,
sure.
With the Rodgers situation, like, are you a contract guy? Like, do you know stuff about contracts? Because I do not.
Sometimes I like to pretend that I do. But yeah, I mean, I look at SpoTrack when something new is to kind of see what the breakdown is. Cause it's always, well, this was a 4-year, $40 million deal. Well, it's not really like, what are the signing bonuses? Where are the outs? Like that kind of thing. So that's about as deep as I go. And then I forget that information within 5 minutes. So,
forget everything I learned. I'll listen to a podcast and then someone will say something. I'm like, oh, I should use that for my podcast. You know, just a little glip of knowledge. And then I should have wrote it down. I don't remember. No, but like, so if the Packers were to trade Aaron Rodgers, like it would be, it costs the Packers some stuff. Like I think it would, I don't know. I don't even like talking about it.
Well, I mean, this year, I know, I can't remember the dead money. I know they're in the clear a little more after June 1st. So they still have to take on some of that contract. I think basically this year, and then to a lesser extent next year. But I think it's a $38 million cap hit if they trade him now versus $24 million after June 1st or something. So yeah, I mean they get that they get hit. They get hit. It's just a matter of how bad that is. But
yeah, because I know that. So where are you at? Do you think that Aaron Rodgers is a Green Bay Packer week 1?
My gut feeling is yeah. I mean, and I've said that for the majority of this time. Like I think, I honestly the draft day thing was crazy. And at that point, I mean, I'm watching the draft going like, he's going to get drafted at 3, or he's going to get traded at 3 to the Niners, and he's going to get traded at 9 to the Broncos. Like, you're watching the draft every pick, waiting for like, there's a trade. Like, oh no. Yeah. But then after the Schefter thing, where he was like, you know, his accumulation of information, like, oh, okay, this is not breaking news. This is he's clearly unhappy. Like, there's clearly some kind of discord there. But at the same time, like, this is not something that came up and he was like, I want this guy fired and I'm not coming back and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, it seemed like general unhappiness. So after I heard that, I was like, oh, he's probably coming back. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be shocked either way. Like, if he's traded, and I don't know, get 4 first-round picks back, and I'm happy. But yeah, at this point, my feeling is he's back.
Yeah, I think he's back. Like, and that was exactly like my thoughts when Schefter came out and said this was not like people don't realize though he had sources, just not that day. Like when he says I had no sources, it was just that day. Like I think it was common knowledge. I think
he'd been hearing things. I think the way it was presented, where sources are telling me, and the way that was presented was sources are telling me today that Rodgers wants out, and I heard all of that today, and that wasn't the case. So I think it was certainly not necessarily misinformation, but certainly a misleading way to present the information.
Yeah, because he said sources tell ESPN on Thursday. Like
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was
misleading.
That's dirty pool, man.
I think shady. Like I know a lot of people don't like they're like, you know, defending him and saying, well, no, he said what he said was, but it's still shady. It's like he said on Thursday, he made it seem like that broke. But I'm not gonna bury the guy. Like Schefter's usually reliable. I think in my opinion, he probably did it a little bit to get people to watch the draft on ESPN.
Oh yeah.
And people are like, well, no, because everyone's watching a draft anyways. I'm like, yeah, but they get to choose NFL Network or ESPN. And
I also talked to quite a few people who are like, I usually don't watch the draft. However, I watched every single pick this. But so I mean, it definitely goosed the ratings there. Like they knew what they're doing, man.
Yeah, and if you're choosing NFL Network or ESPN, and this whole Aaron Rodgers thing is going down, and the guy who broke the story is on ESPN. A lot of people went over to watch, and I think ESPN's draft coverage was sketchy at best because I watched it. But anyways, yeah, I think Rodgers is coming back. I think that I hate this story. I want it to be over. I wish Rodgers would say something, but like I get why he's not saying something, because I feel like they're in communication right now, and if they are, then they're neither side really wants to talk too much. The Packers have to talk. Like they had no choice. Like they had to say something, and they kind of said, hey, this is a thing. Rodgers talked at the Kentucky Derby or whatever, kind of said, this is a thing. I wish it didn't come out. He didn't really get into it or whatever, but like players have come out. Did you see Aaron Jones on Rich Eisen?
I did not actually, no.
Yeah. I seen the Rich Eisen show on Twitter or whatever. I saw the video, someone retweeted it. He seemed like he did not want any, like, it surprises me that these guys come on these shows because they know what they're going to be.
You know what it's going to be. You know what the questions are right now. Yeah.
They must get paid to go on these shows. And not that Aaron Jones needs money. I think he's doing all right. But, like, I don't know. It's weird to me because, like, I know that those shows are probably fun because, you know, it's a big audience or whatever reason that players decide to go on. Because I would go on even if he was going to ask me some horrible question. But like all they do is talk about Aaron Rodgers. He didn't seem like he's like, I haven't talked to Rodgers, but you know, about this. He was talking about like Jordan Love. Yeah, I talked to Jordan Love. Not about that though. Just about outside stuff. Like so, like nobody really wants to touch it, I don't think. But like, yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is coming back. I think that I think this is all gonna be, dude. It's funny to me because like. I'll say this because like I trash like clickbait people, and then people like sometimes people take that as like the media, but I don't. When I say that, I don't talk about like Adam Schefter or like even ESPN or like the people who like Ian Rappaport, like all these. I'm talking about like these other like sub pages like mine. Like on Facebook, I have a decent following on Facebook, and I don't do that. But like there's a lot of like these pages, like even some are verified. Like sports news, like 101 or whatever. And then they're just like, you'll never believe what Aaron Rodgers said. And then it's just some link. So I trash all of them and I comment on them and I say, this is trash. And then I'll pull up a screenshot of a tweet that like someone like usually Packer beat writers or whatever who are actually talking to these people. And like, I'll put like the actual context up there. And sometimes I get more likes on my comments than the actual post. Dude, I just hate clickbait. I get that clickbait's a thing. Like people who are writing a real stories are actually reporting like they want you to read their thing. And
well, yeah, a lot of times, I mean, they're not picking the headlines. It's
yeah,
picked. Well, and part of the problem is they're picking it specifically to get people to click on it. But so often, so many people just don't even click on it. And so what you have in there is then like you have in your mind, oh, this was the story. Well, you didn't read the article. You know the headline, and the headline didn't really have anything to do with the story. And so it's almost misinformation because the headline is somewhat misleading. But it's not if you read the story. But so few people actually read the story. It's just you take the headline at face value, and then like you said, there's news aggregators that also like take those and then make stories out of the headlines as opposed to the content of the story itself. And the problem just steamrolls, man.
So let's talk about that because I don't think that people realize this because Rob Duvosky, I never say his name right. I think I said it right there. But he mentioned it. He's like, I don't write the titles because you're a writer, so like kind of how the game is played.
Oh, I make my own titles. No one cares about what I write, Matt.
People who like work for like these ESPNs or whatever, they don't write their titles, so they write an article. So he could have a solid article, and he's just saying good things, and he's saying facts, and he's just giving his 2 cents on the situation with all facts. But then the person who writes the title, they want to get the clicks, they want to get all, so they might stretch it, try to make it a little juicy or whatever. But yeah, if you don't read that article and you just go off of like what the title says, and then but like I know because like I have a Facebook page. I get emails from people. Like there's sites that will say, hey, if you share our stuff, we'll pay you. Like,
oh yeah.
Well, what they do is they'll take a Rob Duvosky article or whatever, any ESPN, NFL, whatever, anyone who's writing, and they'll take their article and they'll rewrite it and they'll just reword it. And then they put a bunch of ads in it. See, that's the clickbait I'm talking about. It's not like the real writers who are really doing the work and like they're doing the things. I don't know. That stuff just drives me bananas.
Yeah, it's maddening because then that makes even more noise to wade through, right? Like you're trying to figure out what's going on, where's the story, and now you've got 50 stories that don't actually don't tell you anything. And it's harder to figure out exactly what's going on. It's all just noise, man. It's tough to get through sometimes.
Yeah, so that is my point that I wanted to say on this show is like when I say I'm not bashing the media, I'm not bashing Schefter even because I think what he did was shady, but I don't think we should stone him to death. Like
I got my jokes off, but I'm good now. Yeah.
When he was like doing that thing on the Dan Patrick show, and he's sipping his coffee, like, dude, it just said like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of sipping. It was very very defensive. The whole thing was very okay. This is he knows. Yeah. He's trying to cover. He knows.
I listened to I don't listen to his podcast, but I saw a clip that he posted where like they're like his boss has called him and said, you're trending on Twitter. He's like, which is never good. Like, if you don't want to be like as a writer or as a breaking news person, you don't want to be the story. Like you want to share the story. So like they're like you got to say something. That's why he went on that little media tour saying that. Like, dude, he knew. That's why he was sipping a coffee. He was like, yeah, you guys got me. Like that's
got me afraid to take a drink now, Matt. I was thirsty. I was gonna get a drink of water, and now I'm afraid I'm a judge for it, man.
I'm gonna drink too. No, I was gonna ask you something else. I forgot. I was gonna move on. Okay, so let's talk about this. All right, let's move on a little bit. What about Blake Bortles? All right, because what do you think of this signing? Because I think anybody who's listening probably knows because I've been posting about it. I don't shut up about stuff when stuff happens. I'm such a homer though. So what are your thoughts on Blake Bortles? Would they have signed him? I think it was Zach Cruz who was talking about this, a writer, and I like him. He's a good follow.
Yeah, no, Zach's great. Yeah,
I know. Maybe it's any type of way, bad way, but he was saying like they wouldn't do this if Rogers' situation wasn't a thing. Do you think that they would? And like, do you think this is anything to do with Roger, or do you think they wanted to vet? Because they mentioned bringing in vet quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. If it has anything to do with Rogers, because I could be wrong. If it has anything to do with Rogers, it's minimal. I mean, they had 2 quarterbacks on the roster. they needed to bring in someone, and Bortles, who's a vet in the same offense, was available for what, like $1 million on a 1-year deal. Like it's low impact. If Rogers is back, Bortles doesn't make it through camp. I can't imagine he does. It seems like one of those, they needed to bring in someone. Bortles was there. Maybe Hackett put in a good word for him or something. Hey, Bortles is still out there. We get him on a cheap. He worked really well with me. I liked working with him. He's another guy that could be in Love's ear in terms of like the offense stuff. But no, I'm of the mind that if Rogers is back, which again, I assume he will be, Bortles was basically a guy to maybe come in and mentor Love a little, like just kind of show him the ropes a little, because Rogers will be in running the offense and all that. So you can give him little pointers on the sideline while stuff's going on. But yeah, it's hard to say if this stuff with Rogers wasn't going on, what happens. I think he's there anyway, just because of his familiarity with the offense and he knows Hackett. And someone in the chat here is saying that he's friends with Hackett, which I did not know, but I'll buy it. Sure, because everyone seems like they're friends with Hackett. It seems like they needed someone else. I mean, man, if people want to create drama over like a 1 year, $1 million quarterback signing, that's fine. That's fine, man. But I don't think it's a big deal at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. It was funny because I saw on Twitter Bear fans were saying, "Oh, you guys made fun of us for Andy Dalton, but now you guys get."
I saw that.
It's like, what the dude? That is like such a stretch.
Well, do you know how they paid Andy Dalton $10 million? Like this for the first of all,
they paid him $10 million and they named him the QB1.
Mm-hmm.
And the Packers ain't naming him QB1. Like, from what I saw, Goot said before the draft or after the draft, whatever it was. And if it was after the draft, well, the thing is, it doesn't matter if it's before or after, because Goot knew that Rodgers was upset.
You don't go to camp. You don't go to camp with two quarterbacks. Like you don't go into camp with two quarterbacks. You're bringing in someone. It just was Bortles because he was there. Like that's
and he's a first-round pick. He's got connection with the offense. It just makes sense. Like I saw people writing about it, tweeting about it, whatever, a couple weeks earlier or a week earlier, whatever it was. So like it just makes sense. They need extra arms. I had people arguing me on Facebook like, you don't bring in Blake Bortles for an extra arm. I'm like, why?
Yeah, he's still Blake Bortles. You understand?
Yeah, this is not like if he was so great. And I'm not saying he's a bum. I'm just saying if he was like such prestigious, where he's not a extra arm at training camp, then he wouldn't have signed a 1-year deal for like $1 million or whatever. He would have been on a team. And then this is no hate for him, because I think that he's got experience, and I think that probably didn't hurt him. So like maybe if this Rodgers thing does go sideways, they got someone who played NFL games. They got a guy that can teach Love something, like who knows, like how they feel about Love. Like, is he ready? But like, that's another thing. Let's talk about that. Let's bring that up. This is how this podcast goes, bro. We just wing it. All right.
I'm here for it, buddy. I'm here for it.
No, but Jordan Love, I'm not going to ask you, is Jordan Love ready? Because people always say it. Is Jordan Love ready? Like, how the hell do I know?
Yeah, no, we haven't seen him. We don't know.
But like, I thought it was very interesting that Aaron Jones was, like, I mentioned that Rich Eisen podcast. He asked him, he said, did Rodgers last year, was he working with Jordan Love? And he was like, yeah. He's like, they were over there talking. He was showing them how to like get people to jump off sides, the cadence. He was going through that. He's like, he would tell him like, I saw this, I saw that on this, I'm assuming during practice. And so like he was working because like that makes sense. Cause I was talking to my wife about this earlier, because I was like, because Rich Eisen said after, he's like, then what the hell's going on with this whole thing? But I was like, Rodgers knows it's not Jordan Love's fault. If he is upset about that draft pick, he understands he was that draft pick, years earlier. So he ain't gonna take it on Jordan Love. But like, is Jordan Love ready? Like none of us know. Only people who know are like Aaron Jones and the guys that were on the practice field, the coaches. And I'm not even sure that they know, because he didn't have a preseason. He didn't have a real functioning off season last season, like a real rookie usually does. He was saying that Aaron Jones worked with Jordan on Saturdays, like doing passes. He was running. Okay. Yeah. So he was saying that. So like, he obviously was practicing. People act like, well, he was a third string. Well, he wasn't at home. Like he wasn't sitting next to me on the couch, sitting with my wife watching like 16 and Pregnant, but now they're 26 and a divorced.
Sounds dope, Matt. Very good.
That's what my wife watches. It's ridiculous. I just leave. That's why I have a podcast. The shows my wife watches drove me. I'll just go talk to strangers on the internet. No, but like, so like, worst case scenario, do you think that if, let's say, I fully believe Rogers will be back. So do you, like you said. I want to make sure anyone who's just checking in doesn't think I'm.
Sure.
But do you think that? Who do you think that they would go for? Excuse me. If they had to go outside of Rogers, or maybe even Rogers, I don't even want to say that word. But like, let's just say they had to go someone outside of Rogers. Would they go Jordan Love or Blake Bortles? Like, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things. I mean, so the roster is where they feel like they are now. I mean, they're the Super Bowl contenders. So it's kind of one of those, how big is the Rodgers thing? Is he not playing at all this year, or would he miss like a few games or something? Because Bortles seems like a guy, like if nothing else, like veteran backup, can win you a few games if you absolutely need to, something like that. And it depends on how far along Love is. Like we said, we have no idea how far along Love is. I watched a lot of him in college, and he's, I mean, all the tools in the world, man. Like he's not fast, but mobile enough. Knows when to break the pocket, keeps his eyes downfield, arm strength for days, man. Like where he gets into trouble is like some of his footwork's a little wonky, which that happens. But with a young guy trying to break in the league, you kind of need to clean that up a little. His release point, kind of the same thing. But he has a problem with staring guys down, or reading half a field and not really checking back to see if what he thinks was going to happen pre-snap actually happened. So a lot of his interceptions were more brain, more seeing the field, and more like not thinking through some things than anything, which, I mean, you can view that one of two ways, right? You can say sometimes it's really hard to break that. And if a guy has that, it's tough. But other times, like that's coachable. You can coach that. It depends on how he responds and exactly how that works. But that stuff's entirely coachable. And so it's how far along is he in that? Now we saw, I think, just a month or so ago, someone on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, posted a video of Jordan Love workout, a roll and throw, which looked miles better than he did in training camp last year. So, I mean, he's clearly made some progress, but we're also judging that off a 15-second video, which is the only one we've seen in like 6 months, right? So, I mean, he's got all the tools in the world, man. And I think, if that kind of the field vision thing, if he gets that down, which, maybe sitting for a year, help that. It certainly couldn't have hurt. And he gets that cleaned up. Maybe he's ready, man. And they plug him out there and he looks great. This system, the floor system, really, really good for quarterbacks, especially quarterbacks that can move a little. Because so many of that roll stuff, so much misdirection, so much kind of simple reads where it's a lot of the same concepts, and you're like you're reading one or two guys, and some of that's even pre-snap with all the RPO stuff, and you're just throwing that. I mean, it can work really, really well for a young guy. So maybe he steps in and rips, and if he's not ready, I mean, Bortles could at least win you a few games. Like you said, like they're not 0-17, and it depends. I mean, if Love stinks and he starts, they're not 0-17, but they're middle of the pack, probably less than middle of the pack. If Rodgers isn't there, I assume, and part of that's just because they're thrust into a situation they weren't prepared for. But I mean, gun to my head now, because why not? I don't know. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't start this year, I think it's Love. I'm going to go with Love with Bortles as the backup in case they need a safety net. Would be my feeling.
Yeah, I would think the same thing. I think if they didn't, they would get thrashed. So like if they didn't start Love, they would really have to feel like, he's not ready. Because I'm not for like throwing a kid in there if he's not ready. Like you look at like RG3. I don't think he was thrown in to begin with because he did really well, but they brought him back like really fast, like after an injury. And like I think there's probably a lot of guys in the league that I don't even know about that got thrown into a situation that they shouldn't have been. Some guys got to sit. Not everyone is Peyton Manning. Like Peyton Manning, even he struggled his first year, but you got to go through those struggles. But like some guys got to sit, and a lot of people said about Jordan Love, like he's whatever the word is, he's a project.
Yeah.
His ceiling is like crazy high, but like he
Well, and especially something if you think of like the mental processing aspect of it, where you're going from this read to this read, and that's one of the things you're working on is you're processing the field. You're not staring stuff down. What can kill you with that? I mean, we've seen this. I mean, the two biggest examples I can think of, another big blue guy, Tim Couch, and David Carr, were like kind of the same thing. They came in the line, both those guys, clearly it was different because those were expansion teams, started immediately and got murdered their first couple of years to the extent where like they never recovered because that the mental clock in their head never slowed down. Because now they're looking, as soon as the ball snapped, where's the pressure coming from? And you're taking your eyes off the field, you're not seeing that, and they couldn't shake that. So it's one of those things like you said, like and the line is better in Green Bay than an expansion team. I don't think I'm saying anything out of line there that's entirely crazy, but I mean that is one of those things too. If he's not ready, and the big part of that is the mental processing, and now he's thrown out there before he's quite ready, and his mental clock speeds up, well, you might not get that back, man. So it would be best to take their time with him, and you would hope he's ready after 1 year, but maybe he needs to. I mean, like you said, they knew that. I think the plan was always Rogers through at least 2021. Love sit at least 2 years before he plays, so maybe he's ready now, but if he's not, that also wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world.
Yeah, so that thing with everyone complaining about like Love being a third stringer last year behind Tim Boyle. They're like, well, they didn't even sort of like, dude, that was never the plan. Like, I wasn't in the meetings. I wasn't invited. But, like, I'm betting they were saying, hey, we're going to keep Tim, and we're going to have him be the backup, and Love's going to sit there and be able to watch and not worry, no stress. You're not getting thrown in. Learn everything, suck up everything that you can possibly learn. And I think it's a pretty good gig, actually, last year. You made a lot of money.
I was gonna say, man, all you gotta do is hold the clipboard. Dude, I take it. I take it right now, man.
Dude, like I love it when like I'm at work, like and like if you change jobs, I worked in my job for a long time, but you gotta learn something and like just watch them. Like, dude, I got you.
This is what I do best. Just put me in this job here.
I'm in my prime. Like it just sucks when you learn a job and you actually have to do it. So
yeah, no, that man. Listen, I'm in that situation now, and no one wants to be in that situation.
Yeah, I have to actually work, and it sucks. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan. I'm trying to make a living off of this podcast thing. So far, it's not so good.
Hey, Godspeed, man.
No, but I got one more because I got people were asking you questions. And one of these I wanted to show you. I think one of these is your friend or somebody that knows you.
Fingers crossed, depending on what this question is, right?
Oh no, we already talked about that. So that was a good question. I should have put that up before I asked that. He said, "How does a man like himself come out so beautiful?" That was presented for you. So I'm assuming that you know this person. I think he's a content.
He's a writer. Yeah, I've talked to him before. Listen, man, I got my parents are beautiful people. So I'm gonna throw the credit on them. I'm gonna deflect and throw the credit on my parents. My parents are very good people.
Yeah, you got that beautiful beard going. You got
which my dad can't grow. So in your face, Dad. I guess this is something I got.
Yeah, my son got a bigger beard than me. He tried to tell me, and I shut off his phone. Like, don't even bring that shit up.
My dad had a mustache for years, man. I actually tried to grow one because I was like, I wonder how much I'd look like my dad. A lot like my dad, and I didn't like it. So that's why I have this.
Like, I gotta get it all off or add more.
Yep. Nope. That's exactly what it is. I've experimented, and this is the best I can do. It's just all or nothing.
That's fantastic. Hey, I appreciate you joining me, everyone. This is Dusty. I'm just gonna say your first name because I'll probably screw your last name again. But he's definitely if you're on Twitter, which if you are, you probably already follow him. But I would love to have you back on again.
Sure.
It was great to meet you, man.
Yes, it was great, man. Thanks for having me on. This was not necessarily the pack a day one I do, but I've been done other spots and everything, and I always feel very formal. I have to impart knowledge, and I just felt like I'm just talking for a while. So I love this, man.
That is what my show is, because there's no knowledge. But everyone who is listening, who is watching Pack a Day podcast, because people always ask me, oh, any Packers podcast, dude, Pack a Day podcast. Like, I don't listen to a ton of podcasts. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I'm not gonna. I listen to every day, but Pack a Day podcast it's a very informative podcast. A lot of smart people. I try to snag a few every now and again, bring on my show because I need smart people every now and again. But this show, we just have fun. We drink some beers. Like I do. It doesn't matter if the guest does or not.
No, I've got bourbon, man. I'm here with you, man. Yeah.
All right, there we go. Hey, I have a soundboard I haven't used the whole show, and I was starting to freak out. Like I got to push buttons. You want to hear this one? Check this out.
And now, baby, it's over. Your big Lombardi trophy is coming home where it started.
That is my favorite sound. That is my favorite sound. And then we got this one right here.
5 letters here.
There we go.
For everybody out there in Packerland.
I'm waiting for this to hear this again.
RELAX.
Relax. So, do you think, like, I'm gonna let you go here in a minute, but do you think if Aaron Rodgers does come back, is he gonna thrash the media? Because he was on Pat McAfee. I'm not saying Adam Schefter. I'm not saying like the top guys who kind of said what is real. You know what I mean? But like the guys who like some of these like Mark Schlereth, I think is his name.
Yeah,
I don't like him. I'll just say it and not because of his work in sports, but he played for the Broncos in Super Bowl 32. And the Packers lost that game.
You carry those grudges, man. Carry those grudges, man.
I do. I hold grudges as good as Rodgers does. No, I don't mean to bash him. But anyway, we'll move away from that. But I think he might I could see him going to Pat McAfee, or maybe like preseason-ish or whatever, maybe before they get to work. And if he's coming back and just come out here and unleash,
yeah, he'll do. I mean, he's kind of done that before. He'll come on and do his, the media they run stories to get clicks and they do this and that. Like I assume it'll be basically the message he was preaching either all this season or off season. I can't remember exactly when that was, but yeah he'll come back and it won't be like he's not going scorched earth, but he'll definitely be like, well, you can't believe what you hear in the media and blah, blah, blah. Like, I assume as soon as all this stuff is sorted out, like his first call is going to be a McAfee and he's just going to do a random McAfee appearance. And he's definitely going to talk about how the media blow everything out of proportion. And whether that's true or not, who knows? Who knows? Yeah. That's what will be said. And then everyone will feel better.
I believe about half of what I hear. Like, I'm definitely not going to call people liars. Like people who, like, I'm not talking about, like I say, I'm not talking about Schefter. There's a lot of stories that come out after that. Cause after that broke, people are like, oh, he texted the players and said, he made a joke about
the Jerry Krause thing. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's not true. I would assume it is true. I would assume that like a lot of players do that. Like, dude, I don't have a group chat with the people I work with because I don't like them that much. But like, they don't watch, they don't listen. No, I like a lot of people I work with. In case they are watching, I appreciate you watching. They're not watching this long. The hell with them. They're not watching.
That's right.
No, but I have friends at work, and we talk at work. We make fun of my boss. I like my boss. I think he's a good guy, but he's my boss. So like, every now and again, we're going to crack a joke about him unless he's watching. In that case, everything I said is a lie. No, but like everyone does it. I wouldn't be surprised if players in the NFL, when they're alone or a group text or if they're hanging out or whatever, that they make fun of their coach and their GM or
I assume every single person does that at some point. I assume I assume that's rampant across the league. Is just my assumption. I mean, the real crime here is who was in the group text. Who was in the group text that leaked that out, man? Like those are sacred. You don't leak the details of those, And
that is what I was saying. It's like if I'm Aaron Rodgers, that would be great, by the way. I wouldn't be doing this. No, but if I was Aaron Rodgers and this story came out, I wouldn't be mad that it came out. I'd be like, who the hell spoke?
Yeah. Which one of you? There's 5 of you on here. Which one of you did this?
Yeah, because how big are group texts? I'm assuming you don't have a group text the whole damn team.
No.
I assume it's his core, because I'm in a few group texts. Well, I'm in 2 group texts. One with some drunken friends and one with my family. I mute the family.
Smart.
My wife's like, didn't you get my text? I'm like, yeah, but no, I didn't get it. I muted
Probably.
It. I muted it because my wife will text my son in the group text and they'll have a conversation like, I don't need to be involved in this. Like, this has nothing to do with me. Group text is for things the group needs to know. Like, I have a drinking buddy group text. when someone's shotgunning a beer, that's something I need to know. I need to see that video. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's the important stuff right there.
I don't need to know like what we're having for dinner, but I'll find out. I'll get there. No, but everybody, Dusty in the building. I appreciate you stopping by. It's good to have smart people on the podcast once in a while. Yeah, I have Alex Strofe on every now and again. Like he's almost a smart person. Because I was actually going to title this podcast Packers Talk with a Smart Person. Because I think I'm going to start like a series of when I have smart people on, like Andy Herman's, like you, and that's about it, really.
Long list.
I had Aaron Nagler on a few times. I think he's pretty smart, but I don't know if I'd categorize him as a smart person because he's usually buzzed up as much as I am. He's very smart. I'm not saying he's not smart. He's way smarter than me.
He's very smart. Whenever I talk to him, he's very, very smart. But yeah, he knows the assignment, man. Like, if he knows you're drinking, he's gonna be drinking, man. He knows what he's doing.
No, because I feel like I tried to I'm not gonna come up to your level. You're gonna have to come down to mine.
I'm fine. I'm fine with it, baby. I'm fine with it.
Oh, I love it, man. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time. Everyone who's listening, watching, I appreciate. Subscribe, follow whatever. Do all the things that I want you to do that you probably know I want you to do. Rate the podcast unless you think it sucked. Don't rate it then.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need that kind of. Everyone, shout out to Dusty. Give him a follow. You probably are already. Go Pack, go baby. And we got to lead it out with some music. Oh yeah.
There we go. There we go.
There we go.